Our identity evolves over time due to the components of our lives that shape ourselves as people. Our generation in particular is forced to deal with different challenges than those faced by generations before us. One of the specific aspects that shapes our identity is being overworked. From the tests and assignments inside school to the work weighing us down when we get home, being overworked is something that continues to shape us as high schoolers every day.
When the entire classroom is quiet and everyone is working on tests, I feel stressed and overworked. I can't get any help from peers and teachers, and the tests are difficult. If the tests are online, it is hard to focus on a screen for a long time, and my eyes become blurry for the rest of the day. It's always a race who can turn in the test first. It is also stressful when a teacher loses a test you worked hard on to do, and they do nothing about it when you ask for it back. All these things make me feel overworked when taking tests.
Throughout our school day, we're constantly given individual assignments, tests, or even just demands to stay quiet while we work. For hours at a time, our interactions are limited, with only short breaks in between classes for social interactions with peers. Erik Erikson stresses the importance of developing our ego identities, and without the necessary experimentation with different people and groups, it's difficult to find ourselves. Even outside of school, we struggle to find ways to balance our social interactions with all of our other priorities.
When school finishes, multiple priorities demand my attention. I stumble home tired after a long cross-country practice and immediately begin 4 or 5 hours of homework. When I arrive home and take out my agenda, I see chaotic scribbles covering the whole page. With anxiety and dread, I pick out one of the many assignments I have and get to work. As I stare at the bright light of a screen while doing digital homework, my eyes begin to throb. The bright afternoon sky turns navy blue as I continue writing an essay or working on a chemistry assignment, or whatever else my teachers have thrown at me to take up the rest of my school-free hours. I scramble to finish my homework as fast as I can so I can try to squeeze in 1 or 2 hours of flute practice. I know I'll desperately need these hours when I perform in my next competition or audition. I am never satisfied with my practicing. I know I should be practicing more, but I simply don't have time with homework and cross-country. My attempts to achieve more of my practice sessions often result in pushing my bedtime even later than it is. As I finally collapse into bed, I'm determined to fall asleep immediately. I need to be well rested to wake up early and practice piano. I'm also desperate for a break in my busy schedule. But when I close my eyes at night, sleep evades me. Thoughts of how I could have done better, could have finished more homework, should have done better on a test, or should be a more advanced musician chase sleep away. I finally fall asleep and wake up to another long day. Many teenagers are faced with an overload of work. The stress and anxiety that accompanies teenage life often negatively affects the mental health of teenagers. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this causes teenagers to not be able to become the best version of themselves. According to Maslow, when teenagers are constantly stressed, we cannot climb to higher levels of the pyramid, such as establishing self-esteem, belonging, and becoming the best version of ourselves. Our attention is solely focused on the overload of work and expectations that constantly follow us. One source of stress that teenagers have to confront is the process of college admissions.
There's no denying the change of the college application process over the years. What was once a simple transition from one school to the next has become a constant worrying about which classes, extracurriculars, and community service choices will make us look the best on paper, and it's enough to make your head spin. As the youngest of 3 siblings, I understand the pressure of looking good enough more than a lot of students. With a brother who has graduated from both UC Berkeley and UCLA, and a sister in the top 9% of graduates in our area, there's a lot I have to live up to. From the time my brother got his undergrad degree in 2013, I was trying to determine where I wanted to go and how I was going to get myself accepted. I spent hours on college websites, scrolling through career paths and requirements as a 3rd grader. Even now, every time I click submit on a paper or hand in a project, I stand there vividly picturing the disappointment I'd feel if I got a worse grade than they would have. My whole high school life is already set up for me. A 4-year cycle of stressing not only about impressing the colleges that will be deciding the rest of my life, but also about making myself stand out as someone different from my siblings. Everyone tells you college will be the best years of your life, but right now, I can only see it as a burden.
Teenagers are overworked, and the reality of expectations and stress we live in is a significant factor that shapes our identity. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Teenagers do not have the opportunity to become our fully realized selves because we are constantly stressed from an overload of work. Erikson's theory of identity development explains that overworked teenagers do not have time to develop their ego identity. Today's teenagers' identities are dramatically changed by the overload of work and expectations that constantly follow us.